So I've got a challenging shot here that'll help you out with your score and your consistency if you can pull this shot off. It's challenging. Why? Because the ball's down in heavy rough. You can see this grass is thick, it's wet, the blades are heavy. It's not brown and dry, which would be a lot easier for the club to go through. That makes it challenging. There's not a lot of green to work with here. I see a lot of people with this ball where they fall back and they kind of scoop it and they don't get the club down to the ball. You know, here's the thing. Earlier in the series, we talked about the club always needs to descend. It always needs to work down, right? So when the club is working down, the ball can come up. We've got to get the club under the golf ball. So earlier I said the club needs to descend sometimes on a shallow angle. That's a tight lie. Now we're in the rough. I need the ball to descend on a steep angle coming down, right? How would I do that? I create more wrist hinge to get the club to come up faster so that it comes down steeper. So sometimes I like to say the plane needs to crash instead of land. So all this is, I like to call this shot, you know, I always name shots what the action kind of explains. So what is this shot? It's a hinge and a release. A lot of times I hear people say hinge and hold. Don't hold the club. You know, if you hinge it and you hold the club, you're going to back up on it. You need to hinge it and release it. You know, I tell people that this is like hitting a nail with a hammer. You'd hinge the hammer and then you'd release it to tap the nail. That's really what you're doing with a golf club in your hand. It's simple if you do that. So I'm going to take a lofted club here. I've got my 60-degree wedge. Why? Because I've got a short distance here. If I had to go further, same situation, and I needed to go to the white pin, I'd grab my sand wedge. If I wanted to go to further in the green, I'd grab my gap wedge to get the ball to release out more. I'm always letting the club do the work for me. So basically, when I swing the club up, I'm going to hinge it so I have my normal grip. I do open the face slightly, maybe to 1 o'clock. Grip the golf club. Remember, always open the face before you grip the golf club. Set the shaft down straight. Make sure, I always see people put the handle forward. If they put the handle forward, the ball backward in the rough, that's not good. I want to use loft to get the ball to elevate quickly. So handle needs to be straight to the ground. Face a little open, stand to the handle. You see the ball's just forward of my center with a narrow stance. Then all I'm going to do here is hinge the club with my wrist. So again, it's like a hammer, right? Just hinge it with your wrist. Use the energy from that angle to release the club, and notice that the club finishes very low. So I'm going to hinge the club up. We're going to get it aimed here. Hinge the club up. Strike down. Notice how low that club finished. And here's the thing I like to do to describe this shot. I like to call it a check mark. Think of what your club head is doing. Like a check mark, it comes up steep, down steep, and then it exits low. A check mark goes like this. It doesn't look like a V. It looks like a check mark. Down steep, finish low. So I hinge it up. I release the club. As I release the club, I create that straight line, shaft to forearms, and then I finish nice and low. Your club head really should not get higher than your ankle when you're hitting this shot. If you're hitting this shot and you're flipping that club up in the air, you're going to blade a lot of golf shots. Keep it simple, set up correctly, hinge it, release it, trap it, and you're going to hit some great shots.